All right, we are back with another edition of Hitting the Books as we approach the rest of the Week 10 schedule in the NFL. And there's some interesting games for the NFL bettors this week, so we're going to talk about them with the great sports betting content creator joining us from beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, the one and only Shantelle Shan. Shantelle, what's going on?
Not too much, Dex. Happy to be back with you talking some football.
Always good to talk some football with you. We're just going to leave the Raiders out of it today, so I don't want to make you
Not
unhappy.
today.
Not
Not
today.
today, Dex. Yeah.
Today is not the day for that. But for the early morning football lovers on Sunday, the Giants, they are in Germany to battle the Panthers. In a matchup of two teams with 2-7 records, the G-Men, they are 6.5-point favorites. With two struggling offenses, the total points line here is 40.5. Shantelle, when you look at all that information, what's your best bet for this matchup?
Well, shout out to the Germany fans because they're getting a great game. And I say that because when there's two struggling offenses, there actually might be a good game in this one. Let's start off with Carolina because Bryce Young, I feel like he kind of got that chip off his shoulder last game when he got that W against the Saints. Pretty efficient in that game, didn't do anything crazy. I take a look at his receivers and listen, the Carolina Panthers have depleted their roster essentially. They traded away a lot of their guys, but he still has David Moore. He has Sanders, who looked very good last week. So, he still has some targets there. But when I'm looking at the Carolina Panthers, do they have enough offense to get it done against the Giants? And the Giants defense, there's some holes there. Their rush defense isn't good. So a guy like Chuba Hubbard, I feel like could have himself a day. And also their pass defense, not very good as well. So I think the Carolina Panthers could definitely have some success. As for the Giants, they're the better team. I would say that they are the better team. Daniel Jones, I think he had a pretty good outing last week. He was efficient, 2 touchdowns. He didn't throw any picks. And also, when it comes to the run game, I feel like the Giants could have some success there because the Carolina Panthers rush defense is absolutely brutal. I'm taking a look at the line right now, and I feel like the Giants will win this game, Dex, but I think the Panthers might cover.
Oh, I think the Panthers might cover there, so maybe you want to take the
Yeah.
Panthers and the points. That could be very interesting, but you made Giants fans happy saying that they are the better team. That should give them some happiness in what's been a very rough year. Now, over to the other New York team, the Jets. They begin a stretch of the final 8 games of the season. They are looking to make a late playoff push. In their way this week are the Cardinals out in Arizona. Gang Green right now is 1.5-point road favorites. The over-underline for this contest currently at 46.5. Are you backing the Jets to cover on the road, or is there another play that you like here?
Well, I thought the Jets looked really good last week against Houston, and I thought the defense looked incredible because they held CJ Stroud to under 200 yards. He didn't have any touchdowns. I think the only guy that went off for Houston was Tank Dell. Other than that, the Jets defense looked really good. And then their offense as well. Devontae Adams was looking like Devontae Adams, and I think he really opens up things for Garrett Wilson. And so I think the Jets have a really good chance in this game. Also, their pass rush was crazy. 8 sacks last week. They sacked CJ Stroud 8 times. As for Arizona, I feel like nobody's talking about them, Dex. They're on a 3 game win streak right now. Their defense plays really hard. Their pass rush had 6 sacks last week. And when you have Kyler Murray as your quarterback, you always have a chance. And I feel like people don't talk about the Arizona Cardinals run game a lot either. James Conner, he's had 4 games over 100 yards this year. I know that the Jets defense is solid, but I think that's something to mention. Listen, the Jets look good last week, but there's something about this Arizona Cardinals team that I really like. They have a defense that plays really hard. They're playing at home. So if you were to take the Cardinals to cover, it's a -110. I'd rather just take the Cards on the money line, which is a +105. So I'm rocking with the Cards here.
Rocking with the Cards here. Okay, so you didn't make the Jets fans happy here at all with that, but I do agree with you. The Cardinals, they've been really dangerous. James Conner, he's been killing it for me in fantasy. Gotta love what he's done there. And you're right, the defense has been really solid. So this is not going to be a walk in the park for the Jets. You're going with the Cardinals on the money line there. Okay, we have another interconference matchup on Sunday as the 6-2 Steelers visit the 7-2 Commanders. Now, Washington is arguably the surprise of the NFL this season, while the Pittsburgh offense, they've improved since Russell Wilson took over at QB. How are you betting this matchup where the Commanders are 2.5-point favorites?
Dex, this is the best game of the week because you have one of the top offenses in the league in Washington and then one of the best defenses in the league in the Steelers. And both of these teams made moves at the deadline. The Steelers ended up picking up Mike Williams And also, when you take a look at the Commanders, they knew they had to do something to their secondary. They picked up Marshawn Lattimore. He's not going to be playing in this game. So one of the biggest issues still is that Washington secondary. And I know Jaden Daniels has been immaculate this season. He's looked so good. Offensive Rookie of the Year for sure in my books. Also, I feel like we got to put him in the MVP conversation as well. But I know the Commanders' offense looks really good, but this Steelers' defense is ridiculous, Dex. They only give up about 14 points a game, and that's top at the league. That's top 5 in the league as well. And I also feel like their pass rush is really good. TJ Watt, Alex Hightower, they're gritty, and they don't even blitz a lot, but they're able to get to the quarterback. As you mentioned, Russ, ever since he took over that starting quarterback position, the Steelers have played really well. George Pickens has been rolling, Najee Harris. So when I take a look at this game, I know that the Commanders are at home. Jaden Daniels has been rocking out. He's been balling, but I like the Steelers. I'm going to take the defense and the Steelers offense to get this one. I have the Steelers covering this one.
Got the Steelers covering, and I don't have much to say on that other than I think you made the right pick, and you know why I'm saying that for sure.
I know you're happy about that one, Dex.
Hey, you might not have made the Jets fans happy, but you did make me happy, so I appreciate that there. Now, Sunday Night Football has arguably the best team in football, or at least the NFC, and that's the 7-1 Lions visiting the 6-3 Texans, who you mentioned earlier. Detroit's favored on the road by 3.5 points. The over-under line for here is currently 49. What's the best bet for this game?
Well, the Detroit Lions are on a heater right now, 6 in a row, and they're one of the hottest teams in the league, so it's really hard to bet against them. And then you have a Houston team, and I feel like they're a little bit desperate because they started off the year so well, and they've been struggling as of late. As I mentioned earlier, CJ Stroud did not look very good against that Jets defense. And then the Detroit Lions at the deadline, they were like, you know what, we want to get better. So they got Zadarius Smith. And this Houston Texans O-line, they can't stop nobody. And last week, CJ Stroud got sacked 8 times. I think the one Achilles heel for the Detroit Lions is their rush defense. Joe Mixon for the Houston Texans has actually looked really good. I think he might have himself a day, and I think the Texans will also try to run it. But I can't bet against the Detroit Lions, so I'm just going to lay the points with Detroit.
Wow. We haven't heard this in a long time where somebody said they can't bet against the Detroit Lions. For a long period of time, you always bet against the Detroit Lions. And now things have changed, looking like the best team in the league. They might be the best team in the league, but I still can't think Kansas City has something to say about that. We shall see. Last thing for me, Shantelle, what's your favorite player prop bet that bettors should keep an eye on this weekend? What do you have?
Well, I'm going to go back to the early game with the Giants and the Carolina Panthers. I mentioned how terrible Giants fans don't hate me, but that rush defense is absolutely brutal. Chuba Hubbard looked very good last week. He had 2 touchdowns. The over-under on rush yards for Chuba Hubbard is 67.5. I like the over there.
All right, like the over there. That is a good play. Giants fans will not be happy about that one, but you did pick them. You did pick them to win. You said take the Giants there, so
yes.
You did pick them to win. So it's good. Great picks by the great Shantelle Shan, one of the best in terms of sports betting content. Shantelle, I appreciate it. We will do this again really soon.
Thanks so much for having me, Dex.